Hello, everybody.
Good morning. I mean, guten Morgen, meine Freunde. LFQ says it's getting better. They started realizing that they must learn some English to be part of the global discourse. Yeah. I'm speaking more about like French people that I've met who like try to teach you French, or if you try to speak French with them, they're like, I can't understand you. I don't know what you're saying. It's like, dude, I literally said the French words, like, chill the fuck out. And they're like, yeah, but your accent is terrible. You're saying everything wrong. And it's like, it's close enough, dude. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. French is a wacky language. Oh, shit. Green twirly boys. Let's go, Tony.
So yeah, I was looking into your vivarium material concepts, and the most difficult part of that is that it's actually a simulation of like a thing happening physically. And
okay.
I've seen somebody pull it off in Niagara in a very short video on YouTube where they don't explain how they did it, but presumably they just kind of like implemented the simulation math. But I say all of this to say that like it might be something that we don't want to spend the time to figure out for the thing that you're trying to do, but we do have lots of fractals already, and so I think that
it doesn't have to be a Voronoi one at all. It could totally just be any fractal visualization. Like you could make a animated material off of this or whatever, a shader, and then just let it rip. It doesn't. Well, it's fine if it loops.
The crazy ass thing is that this thing is a. Make sure I'm not on this camera right now. I think I am. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is like a plane. You look at the geometry underneath it somehow, but because originally I was like, maybe we could take this and put it on a plane and put it on a TV screen, and I'm like, oh, if you put it on a plane, this is what happens. So still figuring it out, but I think it should definitely be possible in some way. But I also have like all of these different kinds of these too, so there's a lot of options, and I have 2 packs of these. This is just one of the packs. So
2-pack.
Yep.
AAA Battery says the French have always been the most snobby and strict when trying to speak to them. Every other group has been happy or trying. I mean, I don't know if I want to paint all the French and with one brush, but it's easy to talk shit about the French, I think. But yeah. I've made or been introduced to many native French speakers, and they're just like, don't fucking try to speak French. And I'm like, man, if y'all are gonna speak English the way you do, don't be so snobby about that shit. Relax. It's hard as fuck to understand your French accent sometimes. Yeah, and to LFQ's point of younger generations getting more easygoing with speaking the language, French Canadians that I've met are always super chill, like for real. I've gotten along. I was throwing some Canadian shade a couple weeks ago, but French Canadians have always been like the chillest internet friends I've had from Canada. I don't know why. They taught me wonderful turns of phrase like "salop," which is similar to bliat. No, suka in Russian, or schlampe in German, if we're doing that. By the way, I know many different words in different languages other than English, but they're not words you should be saying. I can't really speak conversationally in anything but Spanish, or English, Tony, the chat overlay is working, which is cool. It's picking up YouTube and everything.
Are we getting YouTube?
Yes, sir. That's how I saw AAA batteries in there. I didn't have the YouTube monitor up. How's it going, AAA? Hope you're doing well today. Thank you for being active over on the YouTube chat. Yeah, so guys, Dread is fucking schmoovin'. We're cranking along with Dread. Shit's going well. Yeah, I've got a meeting with the old Jeremy G. Viking of the Girth Gang and Brightside's channel after stream to chat about some of the sound things that he did for us. Brightside generously gave us stems for a very cool track that he made. So we're gonna get to integrating those into the project. Tony ironed out a bunch of systems, did like probably the 5th refactor on the neighborhood. So the neighborhood's getting clean and juicy, and the interior space of the house is getting stood up so that we can do end-to-end playthroughs and content authoring and all that. We're into like the meat of making the game. So prototyping is done. Yeah, LFQ, Brightside's community is called the Girth Gang. Which is funny as fuck, but yeah. He streams pretty late, so you probably haven't been able to catch any of his, but yeah, it's a good stream. If you've ever got the time to check it out, it's definitely a good stream. I would say we're more like PG-13, and his is, he self-described it as NC-17, barely skirting the regulations on Twitch or whatever. You sometimes catch it early in the morning? Nice. My favorite, you know, not trying to say any of his other streams are bad or anything, but my favorite is definitely the Thursday beat challenges. Those are fantastic. It's really, really cool. Very, very talented people in his community, or at least just skilled. Some of them are, I would say, talented, and they've got some creative vision and make some really amazing things. Some are just like really good at making music digitally, and you know, it's hit or miss. They can make some good stuff and they can make some bad stuff, whatever. Brightside always makes bangers, unless I get to talking to him about caloric gains and protein diet and lifting at the gym. So when I do that, his tracks always are like, he does maybe 10 minutes of a track, and then we just yap about bullshit. And you know, he doesn't do so hot in the round, but that's okay. He's also the judge, sort of the MC, as it is, the master of ceremonies. Also, Brightside's Slice and Dice game is coming along. If you guys want to throw him a little bit of love, he's trying to get wish lists. So let me see if I can get. I'm gonna get a link in there for y'all and see if I can drop that in the chat. Whether or not you pick it up, he was telling me that wish lists actually help him a lot. So we'll see if 1 week out, bro. That's crazy. I'm excited for you. You changed the name to Pizza Survival? Slice and Dice Pizza Survival, I think is what you're shipping. Let me just double check. Slice and Dice. Yeah, there it is. Slice and Dice Pizza Survival. And get you guys a link for this puppy here. Boom, there you go. Go check it out. Drop him a wish list. If you're so inclined, I know it'll help the homie out. So yeah, it's an interesting game. He's got a lot of stuff going on in it. I think the shining points of it after having played it are hey, it's in his trailer, 6 unique game modes. He's got some really fun casual modes for multiplayer, like dodgeball, basketball, deathmatch. The core gameplay mode is a survival crafting game, sort of like tower defense and stuff. Yeah, of course, Brightside. No worries, man. You've helped us out a lot, so we're helping you out too. Oh shit, Tony, that's cool, man. You got the space worm.
We're getting in there. Yeah.
Or beehole. It's one of the holes. Space wormhole. Should hit 10K in no time? Hell yeah, dude. Sussy Burger. Yeah, okay, so what Tony's going for is I've talked to you guys about Dread and what we want to do with different tells that kind of encourage the player to go along. You know, I say encourage loosely because encourage is like, it's going to be scary. So when you're taking the right path and you're progressing through the game, it's going to be more spooky and more scary and more unnerving. When you take the wrong path, you'll just be lost. You'll end up back at the beginning and you have to like sort of, you know, work that out. There's one correct path. Otherwise, you just keep going back to the beginning. So one of those things that is going to be a tell is in... Did I have a link for it? I think I posted a link for it. Yeah, it's probably pinned in Dread. Tony, yeah, if you couldn't find visual reference, I think it's pinned in the Dread channel. The timestamped.
Oh no, yeah, I could find it. I was
okay.
looking. I was trying to look for like how to make it, and it was hard to find anything because of actual vivariums.
I didn't fucking pin it. Oh! Oh, you were looking for like if someone made it or reproduced it?
Like how to, I could generally take
you.
like a shader tutorial for just about anything and kind of translate it into Unreal, assuming that Unreal can do whatever the thing is that they're doing. But kind of hard to find anything outside of like Houdini, which is like 3D simulation software.
Yo, LFQ, thank you for the sub, brother. Thank you for re-upping that.
Thank you.
If you guys want to see the fractal I'm talking about, so we're gonna kind of follow. What's that, Tony? Oh, okay, sweet, perfect. That'll be much easier. So you guys don't need to click the link, but Tony will show it. So there's this scene in Vivarium that I thought was really cool. So if you imagine, the way it'll work in the game is like when you go down the correct path, there will be like a normal house across from the spooky mansion, and out of the window will be this like, shining, flickering light. And you're like, what the fuck is that? And then when you look into the living room, you'll see this type of shit on the television screen. So, excuse the little boy. There won't be a little boy in there. But just imagine you look into the house and you see this shit playing on the TV screen. You're like, what the fuck is that? So like that's the idea we're going for. So that we'll have some kind of a weird fractal visualization being all spooky and fucked up going on. And when you're on the wrong path, you won't see that because it'll be just a normal sleepy neighborhood. So on the right path, you'll start seeing this fractal in different places, and it'll start, give you the spooky vibes. Creep you out.
Somebody who did this, again, like I was saying, this is apparently in Niagara in UE4, and this is a 3-year-old video, but you can see they got the pattern appearing on the armor, actually, which is really cool. Presumably it's just mapping off of whatever this is over here, but yeah, that looks sick.
Yeah, thank you, Adder. It's a risk, because if you give the spooky vibes in the correct direction, that might make players not want to go in the correct direction, because they'll be like, oh, that's scary. So the other thing I'm going to try to leverage is if you see it and you're like, I don't want to go that way, that's all fucked up, we'll put some triggers and stuff kind of behind you that are extra scary. So you're like, well, fuck that. I'm not going that way because there's like a monster or something, right? No actual monster. That's a part of the pillars. But think like sounds and screen effects and stuff like that. Or, vignette iris in effect for like your consciousness, like getting darker, like you're blacking out if you're going the wrong direction. If you're like if the player's like really trying to not play the game correctly, right? So we can kind of force them to go the other way. So naturally doing the right thing is the preferred action. So there's going to be some considerations to be made for discouraging the player from making weird choices.
Real quick, I gotta show you guys this art that my wife found at the thrift store yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think I commented on it, Tony. I like that. It's very cool. That's Mandelbrot, right?
Presumably, yeah. I don't know. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a Mandelbrot.
Have to get that hung up.
Yeah. That's cool. Like Venom. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of what we're trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, exactly, Adder. And I don't want to necessarily use black and white. I want to do like black, white, and yellow. So I want like some yellow in there because we're going king and yellow. So I want to use a bit of this like gold color. So not yellow orange, not like bright primary yellow or desaturated like sunlight yellow. We want that like kind of sickly warm yellow tone, if that makes sense. Think Elden Ring, all the madness stuff, how it's like that yellow fire. That's kind of the golden color we want to go for. And I don't mean Altus Plateau gold. I mean like, I don't know. Gold is the best way to describe it because it's really just gold. Yeah, Tony's taking a peek there, finding some colors.
I'm just saying, what if I make this whole thing yellow?
Use color wheel within saturate to desat certain color ranges and certain value ranges, and use your min max and highlight and shadow to find that range which your lighting is roughed in. Exactly. Yes, Adder. That's what we're going for. So yeah, we're gonna do some stuff like that, and I want to use those lighting cues in the fractal to guide the player. I want them to like kind of chase it. and then behind them, so if they're going the wrong way, I want to use like pure black, the void, some eyes in the dark, very fucked up sounds like whispers, hissing, stuff like that, to be like, do not go this way. That's the wrong way. You need to go towards the fractal. Yo, thank you, Geolefe. Geolife?
Nice.
Geoleaf? I'm sorry, I'm messing your name up. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Yes, exactly, Adder, Annihilation. So it's funny you say that because that's Tony's Discord sound when he joins. It's thank you. I appreciate the understanding there. How do you want your name pronounced? Is it Geo or Joe? Like I don't like saying people's names wrong. So yeah, I want to be respectful. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming through. We're Fractal Grove. We're working on a game called Dread for the month of October. Tony's currently, so I'm Vince. That direction? That's Tony. I think I'm pointing the right way. Yeah. All right. Sweet. That's Tony. We're the Giovanni. I got you. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. No, I can call you Giovanni. Or is it Jolefe? Jolef? Either way, it doesn't matter. I'll call you Joe. Yeah, we're working on a game called Dread for the month of October. Our main game is called Hyperskate. Let me drop some links for y'all so you can see what we're up to. Tony and I are the co-founders of Fractal Grove, a game studio based in Colorado. Do this. We've got a Discord. We don't actually stream that much. We only stream 4 hours a week. So we stream today and tomorrow. Today's a morning stream. Tomorrow's an afternoon stream. Typically on Wednesdays, we stream game dev, talk about Unreal, talk about our projects, what we're working on, help people out with their own projects. We very much focus on game dev. I usually read some news around the industry while Tony's working on a thing. And then on Thursdays, we do kind of like it's similar to a Let's Play format, but I'm a game designer with like 15 years experience as a game designer. So I try to couch everything in game design speak and still talking about game dev, but I go like, here's what I like about this game. This is a decision they made. So instead of going like, oh, I like that. That's cool. They have neat hats. I won't go that route. I'd be like, here's why they put these hats in. This is the type of thing that motivates a player to collect shit, whatever, right? So I try to keep everything in that context. But for the month of October, we're going to be building, this game. So everything's going to be game dev streams this month. So we're working on Dread. We've got a procedurally generated neighborhood and liminal space content. So the game is a liminal space psychological horror walking simulator. So you're not going to be doing a whole lot other than walking, but the atmosphere is really the point of it. We're asset flipping because it's good for scope. Building a game in a month is pretty crazy. Admittedly, like I'm not like, oh yeah, that's easy. It's a challenge for sure. It's going to be hard, but we're making really, really good progress and we're cranking along. So yeah, thanks for coming through, Gio, and bringing your crew. Sorry, Joe. Some news: NetEase killed both their Western dev MMO projects this week. Fantastic Pixel. Oh, Greg Street. Oh shit, dude. Ghost Crawler. I don't know. I know everyone hates Ghost Crawler, but at least gamers do. I don't totally know why, other than like combative language or something like that on the BlizzNet forums. So battle.net, whatever it is, Blizzard forums. Got my iced coffee and some car parts in the mail. Yeah, dude. Here's on the bean juice. Doing well. No car parts for Brightside. UE's cracked open on the to-do list. Yeah, dude. To-do list is smaller than ever. Oh yeah, Joe. Do you make games? Did you come from the software game dev community? Like, what brought you here? Why'd you decide to come through and raid us? I heard he was a pretty good studio EP, but yeah, gamers thought he was a dick. Yeah, I mean, he did the Derek Carroll shit that happened at Bungie where people like said something about PvP and he's like, go play PvE, like stop tweeting at me. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. After that sort of like communications debacle, Derek was banned from tweeting people back. Like inside the studio, they're like, you're not allowed, dude. Don't do it. You're causing PR damage. Trying to build a game engine from scratch. Yeah, that's some serious shit, Joe. It's a very, very hard thing to do. Are you doing it as like an exercise? Like, what's your experience level? And is this just like a fun thing for you and you're building a game engine and streaming it, or you working on some games yourself? Yeah, maybe just restart the game, the Pitchford. The thing with Randy is that he's allowed to say whatever the fuck he wants. Derek was just the PvP team lead, so he was not allowed to say whatever the fuck he wants, even though he did it a few times and pissed people off. So he was just causing headaches for the comms team at Bungie.
Yeah, and one of the headlines I saw recently too was like, after all that Borderlands drama, and then him, you know, saying a bunch of stupid stuff and it seeming like it wasn't going well, like I think they've still sold like 20 million copies or something like that. Like, yeah, made a lot of money.
Pitchford can get away with saying whatever the fuck he wants because people don't care. That's the funny part about it. He's like memeable now. Like when he, you know, responded to a games journalist tweeting about an article they wrote. He's like, "How could you fuck me like this?" Which is an amazing tweet. That's my favorite one. Very amateur. I'm actually a web dev. Did a Snake prototype and said, "Hey, I'm ready to build an isometric RPG game." So you're building a game and a game engine. That is a lot. That is you're biting off a lot of things to chew on there, brother. I would, you know, I'm giving you unsolicited advice, but you're on our channel, so here it goes. I would try to take, you know, give yourself smaller challenges, smaller things to do. So if you want to make a game engine, focus on that. If you want to make a game, focus on the game. Maybe grab a different tool, you know. It's good to learn Unreal. I think Unreal's the best out of the box tool you can get right now for building video games. You could certainly use Godot. You could use Unity. You could even use Game Maker. I personally don't like, you know, Godot or Game Maker, any of the other smaller things. Unity is fine. I don't like what Unity comes with out of the box. We use Unreal because I like what Unreal comes with out of the box. So Unreal is kind of the best bet. It's a very complete, powerful tool set. That's not to say that any game engine is easy to work with. They're just not. They're all wonky in their own way. But the skills that you'll gain with learning to use Unreal will also transfer to Unity. So I don't know that Godot or Game Maker necessarily transfer over as well. I think Godot might be kind of close, but Godot is very, very bare bones, and Unity is more robust, but it's definitely more bare bones than Unreal is. Unreal just has a lot of really good shit out of, you know, brand new that you can just get going and build a game with. So yeah. Adder says, love to hear it, man. Hope married life has been exciting. Just locked in our date in October. Nice, dude. Congratulations. Turn-based isometric game, says Joe. Nice. Celebrate every win because they can be few and far between at a time. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Yo, what's up, Stevie? We can all agree that game engines suck to work with. We just do our best to make them fit the project needs. Exactly. Yeah, you said it better than I did, Adder. Where's your blue man husband? LFQ wants blue man. He's in this one, yeah?
When I get to the end, I'll go back.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he should be at an intersection.
If anything, maybe we can see if we can run back to the beginning and not break anything too badly.
Joe, I think you said you're a web dev. Depending on your experience with writing code, if you're cool with, what is it, objective-based languages, Tony, for C#? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all of them except for like Python and JavaScript in modern terms that somebody would probably use for the most part are. Yeah.
Well, versus like C++, right?
C# and C++ are both
They're pretty similar.
Similar in that aspect, yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're different, but they both kind of function similarly in that aspect. Yeah.
So Unity uses C#, Unreal uses C++, but Unreal also has visual scripting, so you can just.
I mean, so does Unity, but it's not very good.
Yeah, it's not good in Unity, so I wouldn't recommend it. In say like, oh, it's great in Unity. It is good in Unreal. You can build a whole game in Unreal without writing any C++. You just use Blueprint and you'll be just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there you go, LFQ. We got Blue Man. He's chilling.
It's like very dark for you guys, but yeah.
Oh, thank you, Stevie. Yeah, it's coming along. It's we're getting to the point of content authoring. So this week we're gonna start putting stuff in. You guys will start to see jump scares and all that, and sounds and whatnot. We've got menu flow mocked in. The next thing that we're working on is the interior space gameplay. So after you exit the neighborhood and go into the spooky mansion, the gameplay will sort of change a little bit. You'll be in interior spaces there for the most part. So building up that is kind of the next thing. And then we'll be able to play end to end, start stubbing in all of the different moments. And then as we get through all that, see how it plays, iterate, continue working. And, we'll have hopefully like a week and a half of that, 2 weeks of that. And then we'll put a bow on it and get it ready for ship. We're shooting for September 26th, but my significant other's game just got locked in for September release. But October, next to the sea in SoCal should be incredible. Yeah, dude, that'll be pretty nice. Hopefully the weather's nice and doesn't get chilly. LFQ wants to crash the party. Yeah, no worries, Joe. Thank you for the raid. Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming through. Hope to see you again. You want to invite everybody? We'll see how my wallet feels. Yeah, dude, it's like that. Yeah, you guys will have similar anniversaries. Awesome. Mine's in June.
Ours are 3 days apart.
Mm-hmm. Tony and I are anniversary pals. The more people you invite, the cheaper per person. Nah, yep, dude.
That's true. You get a better deal at the venue,
It did not work that way for us.
We're going to try to run all the way back now.
Nice. Okay, so Tony took only correct paths, but he's doing some debug testing stuff, so you guys won't necessarily see the representative experience just yet.
That's what I'm going to do right after this, is put the portals in and make sure those are working, and then...
Hell yeah.
Yeah, kind of have all the basic pieces in there. So you guys can see every time these logs are popping up on the side, that's when a new chunk is streaming in and an old one is being culled, just depending on where I am. And it always happens when I enter an intersection, so there'll be one about now. And then another one when I leave the intersection and enter a street. And I don't think it's deleting the old houses very well if we look. So I think the frame rate is slowly getting worse, I'm noticing, as I keep going. So still have some stuff to figure out, but cleaning up these meshes when I leave an area is actually extremely challenging, just because they're instanced. And as we were kind of seeing, if you guys were here for the stream last week, I determined that the problem was that when you remove an instance from the instances, they're all basically in an array under the hood, and it reorganizes them every time you take one out. And so if something was at index 3 before, and then you take one out at index 0, then now that will move up to index 2, and you'd have to, if you're trying to keep track of the indexes on your side, you'd have to like effectively just recreate that resort on your own to keep everything straight, and that would be very difficult. So there's a thing, I'm going to turn this off because it's running very poorly now, but there's basically a thing I can do where these lighter boxes here that you can see I have highlighted, I can use to, you can kind of say get all instances in an area and then delete them. And so I just do a lot of queries as I'm moving around. Just all of these colliders kind of have like a section index. And so as I move into like section 2 over here, it's getting rid of section 0 back there because I can't see it anymore. And it's basically just getting this box and deleting everything that it finds inside of it. And then there's stuff that are blueprints, like the streetlights and stuff that have tags that kind of represent that this one's on street 0, and then I can just get all actors with tag and delete those. But that's been one of the harder things to get figured out and working. Yes, Costco has really good vacation deals. You can buy a car from them. You can get like basically any part of your house like repaired or improved, like a hot water heater or roof or something. They have insurance. They have a tire center.
What about
it's
the
crazy.
tires?
It's crazy. Yep.
One thing I would say about like buying a car from Costco, so the car apps and all this shit are the craziest thing to me, because cars, especially used cars, are just a commodity. And if you're like, oh, this is cool, I don't have to haggle about price, you're actually fucking yourself there. You should absolutely always haggle on price for cars.
And it's also like really weird, like with Costco, they just have like a very generic like make and model, and I don't think you have any say over like options or anything like that. Yeah, totally. They do it, and I think presumably it's probably a decent deal for what you're getting, but to your point, I think there's a lot more that goes into it than just that.
Yeah, like buying a new car is a little bit more tricky because you're in, you're going to the market trying to get the fresh thing brand new. So you don't have as much wiggle room. You could still haggle for sure. But a used car, you should never just pay what they tell you it costs. That's crazy. Because they essentially don't really have value. It's all just this hand-wavy ephemeral idea and salesmanship convincing you that it costs what it costs. So there's a lot of good techniques for getting a used car cheaper. I prefer to buy new cars just because I don't know what someone did to a car, and I don't want to get into a mess of whatever the previous owners did. So that's just me. But yeah, if you're buying a used car, shop around as much as possible and do not ever take what they tell you. There's a fine line with haggling. Like if you lowball too much, you're going to piss off the seller. But you need to lowball. Obviously, ask lower. Sometimes you'll be like, so say a car's like 10 grand, which is crazy. There's no used cars for 10 grand nowadays, but you say a car's 10 grand and that's what they're asking for. That's marked up by a shitload. So you go, I'll pay you, like 4 grand for it. That's obviously a low ball that's going to insult them, but you expect that they're not going to say, okay. Sometimes they will. And then you're good and you win that way. More often than not, they'll be insulted. So you need to come up a little bit, but somewhere in between the 4 grand and 10 grand is where you're going to want to settle. So, if you're happy with spending 6 grand on it, hit them with the 4 grand and then start bringing it back up towards 6. They'll probably counter with like 8 or 9, something like that. You'll be like, nah, man, it's too far away. I can't do that. And then you'll get a good deal, but never take the Carvana, the fucking, that shit is so weird to me. Like the apps are like, look, you can just set your payment plan. Like, yeah, no shit. Because they're making a ton of money on stuff that doesn't necessarily have intrinsic value.
They had a Carvana tower in South Denver that got built at least 2 or 3 years ago. And this is probably about a year ago now that I'm thinking about it, but it was just sat there empty for a really, really long time. And it's right on the side of like the most major highway in Denver. So everybody sees it. And people started commenting on it or something to the point where like the local government was getting involved and telling them they were going to shut them down and make them give the building to somebody else if they weren't going to use it. And then within, a couple of weeks, it was full of cars all of a sudden and operating, but it sat there empty for a very long time.
I remember that news story.
Yep.
Adder says they offered me above market for my old Tacoma, like 5K over somehow. No brainer, would never buy from them ever. Yeah. The reason they offered you 5K above is because they know they can get way more than that if they sell it. So if it
on a taco, absolutely.
Yeah. If your Tacoma was valued at like 5 grand or something like that, and they offered you 10 grand, that means they're going to sell it for like 15. Like they just know that they can. So you're never going to get the 15K price on the sale. It's just not going to work that way. But the dealerships move such quantity They will find someone who will buy that fucking car for 15 grand. They absolutely will, because people don't haggle. They don't want to deal with that. They feel weird about it, and it's like, dude, those guys are out to actually get as much money as they can out of you. That's the whole thing they do. They don't have a bond with the car. They don't believe the car is important to them. It's just dollars in their pocket. That's how you have to think about it. That's how they're approaching you. Some kid showed up to appraise it, got dropped off with no ride back other than my truck he was going to buy. Oh, dude, you were in a good spot. You could have talked him up then and been like, dude, I don't know how you're getting home, but you're buying this car for way more than you thought you were. He liked my BMWs in the garage, didn't even look at the truck, handed me an iPad with direct deposit button and contract, and drove off. Nice, dude. That's easy. Stevie was saying, I went out and practiced lowballing. It was a good experience to practice and be willing to walk away. Yes, your biggest tool as a buyer is to walk away. Just literally walk away. Most people don't do that. And that makes car salesmen very, very, like, you take the power dynamic in your favor if you do that. So always be willing to walk away. LFQ says, who buys cars? I mean, don't you have like a robust bicycling culture in your country? Am I thinking? Yeah. No, I'm thinking of Netherlands, right? I don't know how it is in Denmark, but I know Netherlands has like crazy bicycle stuff. They're like the most bicycle per people in the world or some shit. Oh, I gotta turn off these fucking beep boops. I don't want those. We are live. My attention goes to stream. Absolutely zero chance they're making money on that truck, but if it was mint, I agree. I just got lucky the kid really liked our race cars. Nice, dude. Oh, you talked him up? Hell yeah, dude. Damn, automatic appraisal for 14K, got a deposit for 19. Market on that truck was 16. Hell yeah, dude. Good job, Adder. Yeah, most of Europe. I mean, Europe is a lot smaller urban centers because the cities are way older. They weren't built with like when cars already existed, you know? In the United States is much younger, so we have an infrastructure that's built for cars. It's just the way it works. I'm not a fan of the we need walkable cities in the United States. It doesn't make any sense. It just really doesn't. And that's not because I'm like anti-environment or anything. So everybody relax on that. That's not what I'm talking about. Brightside, remind me not to buy anything from Adder. I'll take one look into his eyes and all of a sudden paying 25% more than market for some odd reason. Yo, true.
It's probably what his employer said too. Like, fuck, what happened?
Stevie, it's more complicated than an automaker lobby, I think. You have to just consider like Eisenhower's interstate project. You have to consider that. Before that existed, the only route from east to west coast was Route 66, and it was a shit ass highway. It was not good. So a lot of, the United States was isolated, and, there were these little pocket communities that just had no way to do trade or travel with the rest of the country. And instead of building a rail system, which we had for, freight and shipment of goods in the, late 1800s, early 1900s, that was part of the Old West. Instead of doing that, we built roads, and we went for the, the personal auto. And it was a moment of freedom for the average American. You could buy a car pretty cheaply. You could all of a sudden get outside of your city, go travel, do tourism, check out a new place. The road trip was like a very big thing in the 50s and 60s. So the culture we have today is based on all of that. I will say that cars are in a very not consumer friendly place. And a big part of that problem was the Cash for Clunkers project. That hurt a lot of stuff. A lot of very cool cars that were perfectly fine got traded in for extremely low value, and what they did with them is crush them and turn them into scrap. Just crazy. Perfectly working machines thrown away into the trash. Just very wasteful. Adder says, I buy and sell cars all the time. I got that dead in the eyes stare locked in with a firm handshake. Exactly. Adder knows what's up. All to improve our military functionality. Yeah, it's a really complicated thing. And I think the current discourse, the anti-car culture, just it's not coming from a good faith position to start with. It's all about personal convenience driven by people who live in urban environments that are highly congested, because urban environments aren't well suited to heavy car traffic. They're just not. There's not a way to make that work. So they want that to change. I could see a very valid reason for making urban centers walkable with mass transit, with, bicycles and stuff like that, walking areas. We need culture to shift in those areas. So making it a national effort makes zero sense. If you're in, the heartland, in the Great Plains area of the United States, where everything is so spread out, there's absolutely, it makes no sense whatsoever to get rid of cars and try to do mass transit there. It doesn't work. There's not enough people there. It wouldn't be supported. It's very expensive to build. But in urban environments, absolutely. Yeah, do it. I do think, yes, LFQ, there's a really big anti-car culture in the United States. And my take on it is going to piss off some people for sure. Like cyclists and stuff get very angry when I say that. And they're like, oh, you're killing the environment and blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing, guys. The passenger vehicle doesn't account for the majority of greenhouse gas emissions and stuff like that. It just doesn't. It's freight. It's air travel. So I'm all for making those EVs. I'm very cool with that. If we have, instead of an 18-wheeler that is running on diesel or gas, like, make that an EV. I'm totally fine with that. That's great. Make airplanes and trains EV. We don't have trains. I do think we should have more trains. It makes more sense in the United States to build a robust rail system. But people don't want to travel by train. So it's a cultural problem. It's tricky. Exactly, Adder. And it just contributes to that like cultural divide, and how, people get to fighting on the internet about really dumb shit. So I'll say this, even in Colorado, the area I live has the most dense cycling population of anywhere in the country. And we have bike paths that are not on surface streets that cover a crazy amount of mileage. You can ride a bike all the way from Boulder to Denver and be on bike paths, and people still want to make it so that there are fewer cars on the road. I don't get that. They want to ride their bicycle on the fucking highway. And I'm like, why? You have a safe bike lane. You can use that, get all the way to where you're trying to go. Cars have to exist. We should also allow cyclists, but they shouldn't be at the expense of the other. That's the weirdest thing to me. Yeah, trains are pretty dope. I think trains should definitely have a bit of a comeback, especially in the United States. We had a little bit of train action going on, but the Amtrak is just terrible. And Amtrak is like the passenger train system in the United States. It's really bad. We have like a light rail thing that's kind of happening, which I think is kind of cool. Obviously, we all know Hyperloop is a very silly idea and not being executed on well, but that would also be cool. High-speed rail coast to coast would be amazing. Yeah, Adder's totally right on that. U.S. train stations are some of the worst planned infrastructure ever. They build stations in the middle of nowhere near anything you'd want to walk to. And a lot of train systems in the U.S. don't allow bikes on board, so you're screwed. Yeah, it's a complicated problem to solve, and no one agrees on any of the solutions or is thinking about it pragmatically to best serve everyone's needs. There's no compromise. It's either ban all cars or ban all cycles, ban all trains. It's the dumbest conversation ever. And the other thing to consider is this. Fossil fuels are not going anywhere. All of modern society is based off of fossil fuels. Majority of clothing and products you have use fossil fuel byproducts. Polymers like plastics and shit and rubbers are all made with hydrocarbons derived from fossil fuel refining. So if you ban fossil fuels, we no longer have clothing and like plastic products. It's not going to happen. And so I think the whole effort is just short-sighted. It's not going away. So think about how we compromise and, build both things up in tandem. They can both exist. Let's see, 3 or 4 different train companies that run different areas of Denmark. Yeah, I think the coolest one, and Tony, you can probably speak to this too. The coolest mass transit system I've seen with trains is JR, Japan Railways or whatever. That shit is sick. They fucking figured that shit out. Their train systems are amazing. Very clean.
London was a very close second too. It was just like kind of the same thing. Like I was there during a tube strike, which was fucked and made my life very difficult. But we got to use it for a couple days, and it was really nice. But then on top of that, they have a pretty substantial train system too. So we were able to kind of like go to other cities and stuff, no problem. Pretty cheap, very easy to do, very comfortable. Like you're on the train and you have like a table with like bench seats between it. So like Amy and I were able to sit there, get our laptops out, read a book, have some food, and we're like one of the only people on the entire train. And Japan was the same way. We went from Tokyo to Kyoto and back, and all over Kyoto on the tube. And New York's even not too bad. I know some people really don't like the New York subway system, but coming from Colorado, where we have some of the worst mass transit in the entire country, I always really appreciate when I go somewhere where they got it kind of figured out and I don't have to drive everywhere.
I'm definitely cool with like bus systems too, being EVs. I think that's great. That makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, the internal combustion engine's going nowhere. It's one of the most important inventions in human history. It's not going anywhere. So trying to get rid of that is like foolish. And if you claim environmental impact as the reason why, it's not, you don't have the full information. Environmental impact of EVs is pretty bad. And in the United States, most people who own EVs own an EV for like 3 to 5 years. And the carbon offset doesn't happen until 7 to 10 years. So people buying all these EVs, the new model every 3 years, they're actually making a more there's more net negative impact on the environment doing that than there is buying like a Toyota Corolla or a Prius and just having that bitch for like 10 to 15 years. That's a great purchase, honestly. Like if you care about the environment, you should do that. But yeah, a lot of the people who are buying EVs are middle class suburban, and they're getting their fancy new car just like an iPhone, and buying the EVs. And there's like a glut of shitty EVs that are secondhand, and no one's buying them because they want to buy the new one, because there's a lot of incentives to keep buying new ones. And so the amount of waste is crazy. There's also a relatively finite amount of lithium for the batteries, and it's a rare earth metal.
And they can't recycle it yet. Yep. They're trying to figure out how, but they can't yet.
They've not figured out how to fucking recycle lithium. The other thing that's important to know is that resource is controlled by foreign nations mostly. So like we don't have a huge stockpile of lithium in the United States to build batteries. So there's a lot of problems with it. And I'm not trying to be like anti-EV at all. I think EVs definitely have a good place, but it's being applied incorrectly. It's not the passenger vehicle that's going to fix it. It's just not. It's got to be freight. I want to say it's something like individual passenger car is something like 20% of greenhouse gas emissions, and then freight is like 35%. And then, of course, power plants are the next biggest. So
it's like boats are like 100 times worse than like literally anything else. And like you don't think about it, but they talk about how like one container ship that is moving goods back and forth from China all day, every day is as bad as like 2,000 cars for their entire lifetime or something in one trip.
Adder's talking about Subway in New York, saying it's really dangerous these days. It used to just be dirty, but now you're always in defense mode. Yeah, I don't ever want to ride the Subway. Brightside, you might know more. I know you're not in New York, but you're kind of in the area. So like, what are your thoughts on it too, if you're still around? LFQ says used EVs are such a good deal at the moment in the EU. They're so cheap and batteries are still really good. EU does the right type of subsidizing and figuring that shit out. So like you guys are doing it in the smarter way, It's completely fucked in the US. It's just absolute nonsense, and it's all, you know, virtue signaling. And like there's so many. I live in a suburban area. I see these people. There are so many EVs where I live, and of course all the Teslas, if not, you know, I'm being a bit general here, most of the EVs have like anti-Elon stickers on them and shit like that. And I'm just like, guys, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Stop it. You guys are silly as fuck. Yeah, me too, Brightside. I love living in the suburbs. It's quiet. Like after, you know, 8 p.m., there's no traffic. It's quiet. It's chill. Everything's great. We only get like rush hour and then it relaxes. When I was living in Seattle, which is significantly more dense, there was just traffic all the time. And it was loud. It was crowded. And yeah, I mean, I feel defense mode just because of, you know, social anxiety problems and stuff like that. I don't like leaving my house ever. But also when you're around more people, there's like a higher chance for people to do weird shit and be kind of crazy. So like I'm always just kind of on edge, you know? Battery driven ferries? Yeah, dude. See, that's what we need. We need shit like that. It makes a lot more sense to me. Because those things are running constantly. Passenger vehicles aren't. They have like peak operation hours and then they're just kind of not being used. Even in the US, which is a very car-centric culture, right? There's specific times when cars are being used and specific times when they're not. Of course, when you're talking about dense urban areas, they're pretty much on all the time. So yeah, that makes more sense to make things EVs, you know, mandated instead of banning cars entirely. Even the way everything is built to try and make a buck off of you is very off-putting. Yes, that's our biggest problem, Brightside. I'm still a capitalist. Don't get me wrong here, but I do think that there's like an ethical, responsible way to be a capitalist, and we don't have that culturally. And there's a lot of like, make as much as you can. Like the idea of a corporation needing to make consistent gains quarter over quarter financially is absolutely fucking insane. It does not need to operate that way. You can be profitable and stay profitable without making huge gains, and you don't need to scale infinitely. You just don't. And shareholders obviously don't like to hear that. But that's why that system exists, and that's why it's so bad, is because you can gain so much more money for growth instantly. And it's that instant gratification system that's funky. I'm not 100% sure the battery ferries are 100% on batteries all the time, but still 60% is better than nothing. Yeah, exactly. Hybrid powertrains are actually pretty good. I imagine, so my thoughts on this are, the future is not pure EV and it's not pure ICE. We're going to have a mix of the two, and I think hybrid powertrains have crazy advantages that we're only now starting to realize, you know, as a species. And there are trade-offs. There's benefits and you know, downsides to both. And having them combined eliminates a lot of the downsides with only the benefits of both things occurring. So energy efficiency is really cool. Yes, Adder, performance hybrids are the coolest shit ever. Like those Porsche e-turbos are fucking amazing. I think those are really, really cool. Low end torque is nuts in the new Porsche GTs. Yeah, exactly. And in case you guys are wondering, I know we're kind of like getting deep on car tech here, but what's really cool about, so if you think about a Prius can use the drivetrain to harvest electrical energy when the vehicle's slowing down. The way the Porsche e-turbos work is that turbo, when it has, you know, pressure against it, instead of venting that, you know, boost pressure into the atmosphere, it uses that pressure to spin the turbo to generate electrical energy. So the efficiency is really, really good. And then the inverse, when you need the power, instead of just purely using the exhaust, it uses the electricity to spin that turbo to give you boost when you need it. So there's a lot of really cool advantages. I think the next biggest breakthrough we'll get is in, you know, what is it? Superconductors. But that's physics that we don't fully understand yet. Biggest problem with superconductors is that they have to be at like near 0 Kelvin. They have to be very, very, very cold before they start exhibiting superconductor properties. So if we can find room temperature superconductors, everything will change, and we won't have a conversation about, you know, chemical batteries. We won't have conversations about, you know, internal combustion engines anymore. It will make everything obsolete. It'll be even better than hydrogen, which I do think hydrogen fuel cell is a really good way to go as well. I like the emotionality that comes with an ICE motor, and that's one of the things that I like about hydrogen motors is that you'll still have that. It's just instead of, you know, blowing carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases out of the exhaust pipe, it blows out water vapor. So that's cool. There is a little bit, but it's significantly less than you get from, you know, burning a solvent or fuel. There was recently a company that claimed room temp conductors, but was debunked, unfortunately. We're getting close, though. Adder, you should watch Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. They've potentially found room temperature superconductors there. So we'll see. You know, aliens, dude, spaceships. So yeah, I hope we can get to that technology because it'll literally change everything, and we won't be using any of this shit anymore. And then we need a different way. So again, the other problem is that coal and natural gas are, you know, mostly coal is used to power the electrical infrastructure in cities. It just is. So if we can get away from that, it'll be better. But that's a big problem to solve. I am big on the conspiracy shows, bro. I like you know, I have a big imagination, and so that's what I think is really fun about it. I don't watch them and I go, that's true, that's the real shit. I'm like, this is fun. These are interesting ideas and concepts. So that's what I like about it. I'm not like, this is the truth, you're all sheep and being lied to. That's not my take on silly conspiracy theory shows like Ancient Aliens and Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, I think they're just fun ideas. I never understand what a company gains from faking something like that. It'll kill all funding to the company when it was found out. Recently claims, it's
the Theranos thing where they just kind of think like they're close enough that if they can get some money, they'll get it figured out before anybody understands that they don't know how to do it, and then they don't.
Yep. I think, yeah. If you use the logical razors, you know, Occam's and Hanlon's, it's like, that's it. It's just, they're trying to put the cart before the horse, so to speak, you know? And you got to figure this shit out first. I know there's this huge, flashy, exciting sci-fi idea of fusion power, but I really don't think it's really far away, guys. I want to say it's only happened within the last 2 to 3 years where they generated a fusion reaction that created more energy than it took to start, but it's very minor. It's like less than 1% of the energy to get the fusion reaction started. So we're still really far away from that being a viable power source. But superconductors would definitely change a lot of things. And the way, so this is interesting to me. Our current electrical infrastructure operates off of like copper and traditional conducting elements. And the biggest problem with those is there's a massive amount of energy loss in the form of light and heat. So the advantage you have for superconductors is they have basically zero energy loss. It's not to say that there is none, there is some, but the efficiency rates are significantly higher. So instead of getting really hot or generating a bunch of light while conducting electricity, they just don't do that. And that would change everything, because instead of having, you know, alternating current limits on copper infrastructure, where like copper can only carry so much energy without like insulation and all that other shit, superconductors can just carry all of it and there's no loss. So you could have much more robust circuits and stuff, and they could be smaller, more efficient. It would change everything. Microcircuitry would change too, because you're not relying on silicon. Yeah, it's very interesting. We're at the edge of massive scientific breakthroughs in changing of all technology. I'm excited to see when the French get the test reactor built. Are you talking about fusion, LFQ? Because yeah, I still think it's worth exploring. Like I'm not the kind of person who's like, oh, this is a waste of time and money. We should just focus on other problems. No, we shouldn't. We should focus on all of the problems. We should try to solve as many different things as we can. It's good. Omni, the only problem is the whole needing. Yeah, so you might have missed when I was talking about room temperature superconductors, because that is the key. That's the physics breakthrough, is material science understanding how to make a superconductor that doesn't require extremely cold temperatures, because then you don't need to have that supporting infrastructure to cool something to that and keep it very, very low to have it gain those electromagnetic properties. Fusion is the one problem we really need to solve because energy is key to everything. I don't think we're going to solve that first. I think we have a higher chance of solving room temperature superconductors before we get to that point. But at the same time, we need to explore other methods of generating electricity and different kinds of batteries. Like gravity batteries are really cool. Heat batteries are really cool. And the way that works, it's a metaphorical battery. It's not storing electrical energy in the same way. But you can use silicates and a combination of different materials to, superheat a material that will retain that heat over extended periods of time. And then you can use that heat to like boil water and shit like that. So the advantage is you're not burning a fuel to generate heat and then using that heat to do other things. You're using like solar radiation, which is really cool. We do definitely need to get away from lithium batteries. Battery technology is really bad. So that's why I was saying superconductors would be really good to get away from chemical batteries and, copper reliance for circuitry, or, the silicates and stuff like that, right? Like getting away from those materials would help everything dramatically. We're kind of at the limit of what those technologies can do. So finding a new baseline is going to be much, much better.
Whenever we start talking about stuff like this, I always think about the fact that like they were a little worried that they were going to ignite the atmosphere when they tested the first atomic bomb.
Yep.
And that would have just killed everybody. And I don't know. Just like the fact that there's probably some like scientific stuff that somebody could do that would just like destroy fucking everything if they weren't careful. And we got to skirt the edge of that for all of these breakthroughs that we need. It's pretty interesting.
My favorite part about that discourse was when they were building CERN and there was some dude who went viral saying like, you guys are going to create a black hole that's going to swallow the earth. Yep. And all the physicists go, trust us, we've done the math. That's my favorite part. They're like, nah, dude, we literally did the math. Like you're a random guy on the internet. Shut the fuck up. Antimatter reactions would be the one we should have a healthy fear of. Yeah. I mean, we don't even know that antimatter is a real thing, so that's all theoretical physics.
Just the thing that we say for like the thing that we can't explain why it isn't there. Yeah.
Mass of the universe. Yeah. That is not understandable matter. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you mean? We can't just keep putting them in shipping containers on the beach in developing African countries, starving and desperate for cash flow? Yeah, we can't do that at her. That's not a good thing. So yeah, you guys might think.
Full of what?
What's that, Tony?
Shipping containers full of what?
Lithium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You guys might think.
Is that what we do with used lithium right now? We just
that's like new lithium. It's a conflict mineral. It's not good for people that don't live in Western civilization.
I mean, the entire plot of the 5th Expanse book is about them fighting over a planet that is lithium rich so that some corporation can have ownership of it and mine it. And,
Yep.
We
are, as we get more into outer space and leaving the planet, the biggest things we're going to get into are conflicts over helium-3, because that can be used for rocket fuel.
And we're running out.
Yep. Helium is one of the most rare elements on the planet. And it's crazy that we fill fucking party balloons with it. Like, we're filling party balloons with an element that could be used for rocket fuel and a bunch of other shit, science stuff. And we're like, we just put them in these balloons. It's a limited quantity. We do not have infinite helium. And we just be using that shit all the time in the dumbest ways. So yeah, you guys might be hearing some of my takes and think I have certain perspectives on things, but that's not the way it works. My perspective is complicated because I look at as many different things as I can before I form opinions. I use a lot of critical thinking and research and all that. So, and I do change my opinions. As new information comes to me, I will change them. You know, I'm not like, nope, I'm stuck in this and that's the only way to think about it. It's just, yeah, we need to be more sensible and use critical thinking. They found a massive lithium deposit below the Salton Sea in SoCal. Yeah, dude, I heard about that. That's gonna be crazy. That whole area is really sad if you look into the history of the Salton Sea, man. Isn't that used to be a giant inland lake, and then California water rights, they ended up draining it into the Pacific because of like a conflict over who had water rights there? Some shit like that. There was a massive amount of water that they just like dumped into the Pacific. They are destroying the Salton Sea because of lithium mining. Yeah, I mean, well, it's not just lithium mining. There's a lot of reasons why the Salton Sea has problems. You know, climate change is definitely one. You can absolutely say that. You know, the reduction in the amount of water in the Salton Sea is shocking, since it used to be like this, you know, almost like Lake Tahoe, right? And now it's like fucking barren, desolate landscape where nobody lives, and you know, the whole thing is drying up, and it's dropped by feet per year. The water level is. Salton Sea is a pretty gross place. I off-road there every couple of years and it smells worse every year. Yeah. Salton Sea is a really, really good example of poor environmental curation or oversight or whatever you want to call it. Like, taking care of the environment of the Salton Sea has been a fucking disaster for decades. It was created after a dam broke upstream during a flood. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Straight up smells like death 20 miles out, and only worse as you get closer. Yep. Yeah, environmental stuff is crazy. There's no silver bullet. I have a good example. So I love Top Gear, and I love Jeremy Clarkson. Say what you will about that. I know people don't like him for various reasons. I think as a television presenter, he's one of the greatest of all time. Has made some of the most interesting stuff that you could possibly consume for entertainment content. Obviously, he's a goofball. He's a buffoon, but that's his whole thing. That's his shtick, right? I've been watching a show, Clarkson's Farm, which is post Top Gear, post Grand Tour. I love it. It's like my comfort show. I watch it a lot because it's very hopeful. It talks about farming and taking care of the environment and doing sensible things. One of the interesting things that he talks about, if we talk about like monocrop agriculture and tilling of topsoil and stuff like that, there are regulations in place where you have to plant different kinds of crops. And the reason for doing that is enriching the topsoil and adding more stuff to it. But a part of the problem is weeds will grow in a field where you don't want them to grow because you need to grow a certain crop. So you have to use weed killer. Weed killer is obviously bad for a lot of reasons because it poisons topsoil and groundwater. Now, hear me out. The other solution is to till or plow the topsoil to turn it over. But if you do that, it releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So we either poison groundwater and poison topsoil, or we turn it over and release massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is a greenhouse gas and leads to global warming. So, like, what's the fucking solution? We don't really have one. It's very complicated. And you can't just you can't just be like, well, my politics align with this, so I'm going to go with that. You can't do that. It's difficult. So, yeah, there's a lot of challenging things, and I'm not even getting into corporate farming pushing out the private farmer, or government regulations that make it harder to be a private farmer that are suited to big corporate lobbies and stuff like that. So it's a multifaceted problem, as with all major things. And yeah, we all need to look at all the sides of the argument and then think about how we move forward as a species, because it's not just one solution. There are many, and you have to tackle every problem as it comes up and figure out what the real solutions are. Then upstream repairs happened, so no more water came to it. At the same time, resorts cropped up around it, and agriculture started pulling from it, which then destroyed ecosystems because ag byproducts are horrible for lakes. So now we have a dying lake because it's not getting water, dead resorts and idiots still pulling water from it, and agricultural poisoning the environment. I mean, think about what I just said, though, Omni. You have to use the weed killer because you can't till the topsoil and turn it over because it releases carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What's the fix, bro? You use the poison or you don't, and you cause other problems. So, like, yeah, you have to do both. You have to till the topsoil sometimes, and you have to use the poison sometimes. That's just the only solutions we have now. And you have to hope for the future that people will figure out new ways to do stuff and then adapt to those without crippling the the private farmer and all that. So people need food, and because people want to live in cities, you need farming. If people didn't live in cities and we had smaller groups of people spread out over a larger area, it's all significantly more sustainable. Cities themselves are very difficult to sustain because they draw on so many resources that are not produced in the city. They don't function without support structures like farming. I think they need to move ag farther away from the water sources. No, that's not possible based on what I just told you. There's a limited amount of farmland. Arable land is not ubiquitous. It just isn't. So that's not a solution. You have to balance both things together, which makes it harder, I recognize. But there are no silver bullet solutions to any of these problems. You can't just pick one thing and do it. If you think about it like this, if you need lumber, so like the rainforest deforestation is a really good example. You can't just cut all the trees down to make farmland, because then you destroy the agricultural, the ecosystem there for the sake of agriculture to support cities, and that shit will run out. So you have to cycle it. We can't do this infinite growth thing that we've always been doing. It just doesn't work that way. And I think it's John B. Calhoun also came up with a concept of behavioral sink. So you see cultural decay and societal decay in very densely populated areas. That is just a part of human behavior. We need to be more spread out. We need to live in smaller communities, and that's probably the way to do it. Granted, when I say that, I'm also not addressing the thing about how cities have a robust cultural infrastructure. There are many advantages to it in terms of trade and science and study and stuff like that. When you get more human beings in one area working on a problem, you can solve bigger problems faster. So balance is the key. That's the key. It's balance in all things. The real problem is humans. I mean, dude, you keep thinking in absolutes. There is no absolute solution. It's all cycles and moderation. Everything has to work that way. Let me see if I have anything on game news that is relevant to this topic of conversation, because I feel like there were a couple things I threw in there. Let's see. Oh, okay. Let's talk about this. Since we're talking about cycles, we can talk about demographics of gamers. The Entertainment Software Association published a 2025 Global Video Games report that drew on a bunch of studies from all over the globe. I saw a lot of people on social media being like, wow, average age of the gamer is 41 years old. Here's the thing, guys. The gamer has not become 41 years old. The audience has not changed. Gaming has become more mainstream, and the most important part of these studies that nobody was talking about, really, from what I saw on social media, because no one read the fucking study. They just went with the title there saying average age of the gamer is 41. They just went with that, and they were like, that's true. This study polled people of every major demographic. So, from like 12 years old or 13 years old, something like that, all the way up to 65 plus. Here, I'm going to click on the article so I'm not just saying shit. I can get actual information. Reject all cookies. Get the fuck out of here. 21 different countries across the globe. were polled. They did like, I think it was anywhere from like 120 to 200 different people in each market, and they asked about their playing habits and stuff like that. To qualify as a gamer per this study, you had to play at least 1 hour of a video game of any kind on any platform per week, which is, I would not say if you play Candy Crush for an hour a week, you're a gamer, but that qualified someone as a gamer. So that made people go, the average gamer is 41, because that included the largest demo of new gamers, which is 65 plus, that plays mobile. You think that's going to skew the statistics at all? Because I guarantee it does. Hey, what's up, Turning Cog? Which Pokemon? Yeah, Adder, I totally agree with that. I just, I didn't want to be too reductive, but yeah, human beings are definitely a parasite. If you consider that the Earth might be an organism in and of itself, a complex one that we don't understand, we are absolutely an infection that is harming the host organism. So we don't live in symbiosis. We're definitely parasites for the organism that is the planet Earth. 80% of stats are made up on the spot. Yep. I don't like that cliche, Turning Cog. It's a midwitticism, but I know what you're going for. I'm not trying to call you a midwit. It absolutely skews statistics, but I can't fully disagree that mobile is a major games market that needs to be considered when generating said statistics. Of course not. But I think when you consider what a gamer is, and of course I'm gatekeeping a little bit here because it's my hobby and it's my profession. It's what I do with my life. But I would not say someone who plays Candy Crush for an hour is a gamer in the same way that someone who plays any of the Souls games or participates in the video game discourse online, or, is subscribing to online services or playing a game as a service or playing AAA games. Those are gamers in my opinion. So I think it's a little weird that they're making these assertions about the average age of the gamer being 41 when you consider that data point. It's just going to misinform people, right? So if we tie that back to my conversations about AAA and data aggregation and how these corporations make decisions about what games to make, you see why they do that, because they're looking at statistics in an absolute way without understanding the nuance of how the statistics were pulled and what it actually means. So they're looking at averages and medians, which is, it's not the whole picture. It's not even the correct picture. I agree. There's a huge range of subgenre game markets. Okay, you just reminded me. So an interesting point about this in this report is that it's something like 20% of total gamers are the core market, which buys more than 2 games a year, and they buy niche titles that are traditionally a gamer's game, like Elden Ring, for example, or any of the Souls games. That demo carries the entire industry. So if we're having a conversation about the average age of the gamer being 41 and that everyone plays mobile games, they're not the ones carrying the industry. Why would you make business decisions catering to that demo when it's not even fucking that much money? Like, that's the craziest part. Gamers are still gamers. It's us. We're the core. We're supporting the industry. Battlefield 6 is a great example. They made a game for gamers. So, like, come on, guys. Like, stop reading the data wrong. Like, understand your audience. Understand the market. Hard to look away from the money that the shovelware and MTX generates. Not that I agree with the mindset of publishers, but people vote with their wallets. Yeah, there is a market there. But if you're making a AAA big budget game that's hundreds of millions of dollars that's going to ship on every console and PCs, don't fucking make something to chase the small market. Don't cater to, like, it's stupid. You got to cater to the core. You still do. That hasn't changed. This is like a 20-year-old concept for games. You have to cater to the core. You just have to. You got to make that, and then other gamers will come in. The tourists will come in and play it and buy it. They're not the ones who are sustaining your business model. It's the core that is. Always has been. Spaceman meme. Let's see. U.S. population doesn't drive politics and corporate directives with their voice and vote. They drive with spending. Absolutely, Adder. Yeah. And I've been saying that for a while. Like, vote with your wallets. Don't buy games as a service. Don't engage with MTX. If you guys do that, we can change how the industry functions, and that'll fix stuff. And we'll have AAA, making shit that we want to buy again, making good games. Like I said, Dice fucking nailed it. Battlefield 6 is a fantastic game, and it's the type of game that would have only been made 10 to 15 years ago, and that's why it's doing so well. Kata's going to change mindset because of BF6 proved it's profitable to change direction. Yep. They put fucking Limp Bizkit in the trailer. It's a game for gamers. I think if you play Battlefield 6 and you don't like it, you're not in the large demo that's going to keep making these changes in the industry.
I love how the COD devs like to act like they're like, we don't even want to make the game like this. We just felt like we had to because of money. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's always someone else's fault.
Yeah.
LFQ says, maybe we could discount people who happen to play on their phones and still count people who buy a phone to play. Yeah. So, okay. There is money in mobile. There is a market there. What I think the problem is when someone goes, there's money in mobile, we can convert those people to console gamers. No, you fucking can't. They play for an hour a week. They're playing something on their commute, on the toilet, when they're doing physical therapy, something like that, right? I'm saying that because we know that demo is traditionally older. They're people who are, senior age, and they find cognitive benefits from playing casual or traditional kinds of games like Sudoku or crossword puzzles or Candy Crush, shit like that. That market exists. Stop trying to make fucking AAA a part of that market. They're different audiences. That's the point that I'm trying to make. There are more people who have phones than those who have clean drinking water. That's true. I actually think that's pretty gross. I don't like that. I don't like how we've all been convinced to take these, to get these tracking and listening devices willfully put into our hands while, everyone's just gathering our information and seeing what we're doing, what we're saying, how we're behaving. I don't like that at all. That's why I keep all my notifications off. I keep my phone on silent. I'm not going to engage with that in the way that they want me to. It's still a powerful piece of technology. It's necessary. You need to have a phone. You need to have the internet. You just do, but I'm not going to use it the way they want me to get all my information and to exploit me and leverage my behaviors against me. That's the thing I think of, everything in moderation, right? You got to have a phone, but you don't have to use it the way they want you to. You don't have to succumb to the gamification of everything. You don't have to become an addict to technology. You can use it without being like, I must use it. I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but you know what I mean. Hi, yes, I am a tourist. Here for the Instagram cloud. Okay, turning cog. Gamers have been saying for years COD is trash. Will the majority say otherwise with their credit cards? Yes, Adder. To quote Ed from fucking Shaun of the Dead, I'll stop doing it when you stop laughing. Isn't COD just Fortnite in a different engine? No, I do think that they're different, but yeah, I could see the comparison for sure. They're both kind of like sloppy shovelware type of things that are catering to the broadest audience possible. You can get there, but I would say at the root of COD and the root of Fortnite is a hardcore gamer. Those are the people carrying it. Yeah, very true. U.S. nonprofits are spending more money on cellular infrastructure in developing countries than humanity. Yep. I don't know why you can't see through the 10-meter thick cube, Tony.
Well, no, so I'm in 10-meter thick wall tunnel here, and then I put in basically like the pool room's lighting.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if I can make it so like we're in a hallway like we've been talking about, and we're going from the dark level and effectively like load that in on the other side, but make it so you can't see it right away. And I think it's possible if this has got to be Lumen doing this right here. I might be pretty close to just turning Lumen off, but
what's your skylight leak set to?
Skylight leak and post proc, that is Lumen agreed. I don't have a post proc on here at all right now. I tried to take it off just to eliminate some of my variables, so this is raw. camera settings basically.
Adder says lemon.
Walk through that. Okay, so then no skylight leak if default. Yeah, in here I can go back to. So I'm loading in a level instance of this level right here. So I've just been going back here to make adjustments, but skylight leak. I guess that's, like you said, as a post-process, not actual skylight setting. Yeah, we just got sky atmosphere and directional light. It's a pretty basic lighting setup in here, to be honest.
While Tony's poking around at that, the Assassin's Creed director, Marc Alexis Cote, quit Ubisoft after the acquisition and merger. So he's out. So if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, expect the franchise to get noticeably worse. Additionally, another farewell is Greg Mails left Rare, the Banjo-Kazooie guy. He's gone, but he said thank you everyone for loving Banjo-Kazooie and supporting our studio. R.I.P. King, I hope you have a good time doing whatever you're doing next. Banjo-Kazooie is a fucking lovely game, and if you guys haven't played it, it is wonderful. Yep. Yeah, really good game. And then what was the other thing, Tony? I wanted to talk about tech a little bit since we're kind of in a tech conversation. You posted a thing about Pokemon Legends, Lumois City.
That one's pretty fun.
Yeah, the Lumois City being a single mesh is making people react some kind of way. And there's a lot of armchair game devs talking about how this is, cringe or a fucking stupid technical decision without understanding why it exists or what it's for or any of that other stuff. So again, the gamer conversation continues. The toxicity between gamers and game devs is continuing. No information being shared on either side. This is like leaked or data mined information that someone found and drew a bunch of conclusions about. A bunch of people are saying they don't know what they're doing. Lazy devs, head ass, they don't, blah, blah, blah. And these people don't even know what they're talking about. So you can draw no conclusions from it. It's just an interesting piece of information that Lumois City is a single model with 355,000 verts and
it has to be something to do with
faces.
Like the Switch, just like that being the best way to make it work on the Switch. Like the streaming thing I'm doing with this neighborhood, like probably couldn't do that on a Switch. Like it's probably just something like that. But it's interesting because it means that they can't like LOD or cull the sections of it that you're not in though. And I think that's why everybody is kind of like, what the fuck? So I don't know. And it's not like a distant LOD model. It says it has 330,000 verts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it's big. Adder saying single draw call. I saw a lot of people saying that. I saw some other people speculating that it could be a reference model and not something that they actually use for rendering the game. So
we need to find somebody who actually mined it to determine if it's actually the thing that's being used in the game or not. I don't think anybody can actually say that or not.
Well, I'll say this. In Destiny, granted, I'm sort of apples to oranges comparing here. In Destiny, we would ship a lot of partially finished content, like, strings that was for stuff that may not even get built or shipped in any way. And people would draw conclusions based on that. They'd be like, this means that this will happen in the next expansion. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's just a file. It's a part of the fucking build. You guys don't know what it's used for. You have no clue. It could be used in a million ways or not used at all and then removed. It could have accidentally been checked into source files because the project is so big and there's so many people working on it. You don't know. And it didn't get cleaned up and it could be cleaned up. So.
Oh, Adder the goat. I think you figured it out. Yep. That was it.
Adder definitely the goat.
It's bright as fuck out here. And then if we go back in here, it ain't bright.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's try it with the post process just to see.
I like that the Pokemon single mesh thing is definitely baiting us into the conversation and trying to figure out what the fuck it is too. Adder's like, they probably have limited streaming, so cutting it up doesn't benefit them much other than increasing draw calls. But yeah, I'd not make a call until I saw what they actually are doing in the engine. Might compile down to a single mesh. Exactly. We have no idea what they're doing with their tech. They could have some brand new technology and they're trying a thing out. And
they might have like culling or something.
Yeah.
Where like they can put in one model and it just doesn't show you the parts of it that you can't see or something. I feel like computationally that would be tough, but maybe they got to figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, they probably have secret technology. It's Nintendo. They generally know what the fuck they're doing on their own hardware.
Well, I mean, every time they ship a Pokemon game, it's absolute dog shit. But
yeah,
you know, like to be fair, but
I blame that on the
a good one in a
designers.
very long time. But yeah,
I don't think it's the tech. I think it's the designers and like the business level people making choices about franchise direction. So I wouldn't say
culling is very common. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Multiplayer maps in COD were single mesh landscapes, and chunks of level would be one mesh. That way, chunks of the level would H-lot out as the group, And that makes sense. But we're talking about
if the whole map was one mesh and you couldn't do that. Like that's why everybody's perplexed by this Pokemon thing, is because like I don't think, unless again they're doing something that just isn't being explained, where they can just cut chunks out of it manually by vert or something like that, which maybe they can, but it just seems backwards based on. I would expect it to work kind of like you're explaining, where the thing is a big circle. So, maybe you pizza slice it or something, and the slices you're not in are H-lods or something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, Adder, that's exactly why I wanted to bring this up. The internet is making a lot of assumptions. But Adder also said occlusion meshes are shoved in walls for vert culling as a common proprietary engine approach. Not traditional for UE, but custom engines do it all the time. Which is why BSP was common in Halo and COD. Yep. You see how Rust culls things in? No, I haven't seen that, Bright Side. I bet it's wacky. I mean, like that's the thing is like there's a million ways to skin this cat, and you're never gonna know until the devs tell you what their tech is. That's a part of why we're doing this. That's why we do this. You guys can be like, Tony, how you do that? And Tony goes, look at my spaghetti. There you go. Like, that's why we're doing this. Because we don't like, at least I don't like these fucking conversations where people start going like, fucking lazy devs don't know what they're doing. New Pokemon game is going to be dog shit based on technology I don't understand. And I've never made a game before. So I'm just going to spicy tweet at somebody. Crazy. I think Rust isn't one big mesh though. Oh, LFQ, what's this emote? Bro, what is that?
Well, and like even like there's that famous GIF that goes around of I think it's Horizon Zero Dawn, where they're like swinging the camera around and it shows the occlusion culling or the frustrum culling, I guess, that's happening, where like entire sections of the level are getting cut out that you can't see. And yeah, I wonder if that's kind of a similar system, because those could all be individual things, or that landscape under there might just be one big thing too. And Unreal can do some version of what we're talking about here with world partition, but everything has to be set up that way, and like it doesn't just kind of do it automatically. It kind of has to chunk your landscape out into panels, and yeah.
Adder, you can probably speak to this a little more, because I know you were on that side of things at as the partner to Bungie. I recall seeing some sort of a tech talk internally about frustrum culling in Grognok and like Sapien and shit like that, and they had a special custom solution for it that worked differently than everything else.
I actually noticed that it was the first time I've ever seen the term actually used in Unreal, but in my giant HISM manager thing for the neighborhood, if you go into one of these HISMs, which is what all of these components are here, there is a lot of different culling options actually in the properties. So you can set there's reverse culling, so I think that's stuff that's going to show up when something would be cold or something like that. I saw there's cold distances. There's definitely some frustrum culling stuff somewhere. Maybe it wasn't in this menu, but you can definitely kind of drill down on the reason that you use HISMs instead of normal ISMs is that they're hierarchical, so it can cull them in groups, and it kind of does like some spatial loading type stuff that ISMs don't do. So I thought that was interesting, because Unreal does a lot of that culling stuff for you automatically by default, and you can kind of like hack it apart to make that behave differently, or like change some console settings, I believe. But you almost never, really kind of come up against it directly like that, unless you're like starting to get pretty deep on things.
The chunking adder, yeah. Also, what's up, Marengo? What were you asking about HLODs? Thanks for hopping in and chatting with us.
I think he's just saying like are HLODs part of this conversation, which a lot of the time they are, yeah.
Adder was saying
Maybe.
worked on the culling in Grognok. It was a mix of occlusion. Oh, so for you guys that don't know, Grognok is the world editor for Destiny. That was the tool they developed internally. So I did a lot of work in Grognok myself as an encounter designer. But yeah, actually the majority of what I did was in Grognok, and then I used a different tool for the database management stuff for items and player inventory and shit like that, and quests and whatnot, because quests were actually player inventory items. So let's see. It was a mix of occlusion meshes, hand placed by Tech Art, and frustrum culling chunks of Geo. Grognok would bake meshes down to chunks, which was an approach we borrowed from the COD engine, since we were a shared central tech team working on both at the same time. That's awesome, dude. Thank you for answering that. I remember it was like something really interesting. As a designer, I probably wasn't supposed to be looking at that shit, but I was just fascinated by the whole process. So I went to as many talks as I could. I was probably like the only designer in several of these meetings. And they're like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I'm curious. I like to know how the thing we're building is made. What do you mean?" Yeah, Turning Cog says hierarchical level of detail. Yep. Lots of HLODs used in Radiant, COD. Oh, Radiant's the COD engine. Yeah. Grognok for Destiny and Unreal. Yep. Baking down to chunks of material atlas packing. Yep. So that's a crazy thing. A material atlas is like a single file that has a shitload of materials in it for like an entire environment art palette. So that's how that gets handled. If you guys have ever seen like a material sheet or something like that, think about that thing scaled way the fuck up to something gigantic that covers like an entire zone or an environment, you know, in a bigger game like Destiny. So it'd be like the planet, shit, I can't even remember what the one was called that was all red and shit, the Centaur.
Like here's one just as an example for Minecraft. Let me try to find a better size image one. But yeah, like sorry, I can't make this bigger, but the Minecraft palette is basically just a sheet like this, and then there's like math that happens depending on like what block idea is. It will move to a specific grid location on this sheet to render that material. But they'll use that for AAA 3D games too.
Yeah.
Just because if you had every single texture in a separate file, and say you're looking at a scene that has 500 textures across all of the different things in it, some of the materials have 7 texture files or something like that for like roughness and ambient occlusion and normals and color and transparency. So you would be doing a draw call for every texture file, for every material, for every mesh, and you might be doing 15,000 requests or something like that if all those are separate files, and they can get that down to 1 call per mesh or something like that when they're using an atlas, because it is only accessing that 1 file each time.
And the trade-off there is you load it once, but it's a much bigger thing that you're loading, as opposed to loading smaller things a billion times. So,
and just think about like the dev too, of like adding a new thing to this and making it work with stuff and making sure you don't break anything. And like, what if it's full and you need to add another one? Like now you got to start a second one. You got to build a system that can talk between the two. I would imagine a lot of studios maybe have this be like generated from the source so that they can work a little more flexibly locally or something like that. But yeah, you'll run into this a lot. And in Unreal, you'll also run into the concept of a master material. If you ever hear that, it's kind of a similar concept, but with materials where, I don't know, I'll see it in asset packs all the time where like it's a house and it's full of stuff and it has walls and lights and decorations. I think one of the asset packs we're working with right now works like this, but it's the same material on every single thing in the entire thing, and they just have a lot of options in the material instances and stuff that control ultimately what's going to happen. And I think that gets used for kind of similar performance reasons, but it also gives you like a really consistent pipeline that your textures are being processed through so that everything kind of looks similar. And yeah,
you're basically shifting the performance overhead to memory instead of like GPU or processor. So that's why you do that, because you've got so many things that you need to render that you want to just like load it so that the process is faster. So as Adder was saying, it's all compromises. You want to balance that shit for the best performance baselines. So there's, again, if we can relate this back to the conversation about like environment politics or whatever the fuck, it's all compromise. There's no silver bullet solution for any one problem. You have to figure out the best application of different uses, different technologies for achieving the goals you want, right? So yeah, it's all related and it's all balanced. Oh my god, PS3 PS4 compromises. Yeah, dude, my understanding was that shit was tough, especially on the PS3 with its proprietary processor architecture. I heard from many devs that was a goddamn nightmare, because you couldn't make a game that would run at the same quality on both. You had to basically develop two different versions.
Well, and if you go back to the era before that with the GameCube and the PS2 and the Xbox, they would just have 3 studios make 3 games, and they wouldn't even talk to each other, and they'd have nothing to do with each other, and they wouldn't be similar in any way, shape, or form, and they'd just be like, yep. And sometimes it'd be like 8 studios, because you'd get the Game Boy Advanced and the DS and the PSP, and every single one would just be made by a different studio. Star Wars, Harry Potter, all of them have games that are like that, where every single console is different.
Game dev is fun and interesting.
These days we got it easy because everything is just a computer, and you just make a PC game and then you compile it for PlayStation or Xbox, and you're kind of good to go.
Bro, everything really is computer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to read what Adder was saying. We also had to load light maps, which is also something we don't have to handle today. Tech compromises changes as tech changes. Hence why people probably can't wrap their heads around Switch games baking down to a single mesh. Also why you see these conversations at AAA where they're like, we're using this new technology. Like they're trying new shit. They're trying to make the thing look better. But sometimes the older methods were better in the first place. Again, it comes down to like, what's your partnership like? Who are you working with? Does the graphics, if you're working with NVIDIA directly because of NVIDIA GPUs, they might want you to use a certain technology that they built hardware architecture to leverage. So then your visual quality isn't as good because you're doing the first fucking shit ever on it. And then, people go, by the way, this game is 15 years old. Why do games look like ass now? And then they just leave the question hanging out there and they never want to know the answer. The answer inevitably on the internet comes down to lazy devs, which is stupid as fuck because it's just not accurate. There are some lazy devs, but I will say the majority of devs are not. Like, it takes passion to work in this industry. You're going to have an easier, less stressful life that's, your job is 9 to 5, very traditional. You've got a good balance. If you just work anywhere else, like use your skill set to not work in games and you'll be better off. So the people who do work here in games are not lazy at all. They're very, very passionate and they care a lot about what they're doing. So, it's kind of a bullshit statement to just be a dick to people who are trying really hard to make something and often failing. I'm not going to say that they deserve praise when they make something that didn't work out. It's just the way it goes. It's a hard business to do. Let's see, what else did I miss? Grognak and Radeon would both take all the materials applied to a single mesh and combine them into one mega shader instance applied. It would increase overall unique draw calls, but decrease calls per stream chunk load. Wow, that's cool, man. I didn't know that. That's very, very cool. But it also opened doors to having more uniquely tuned meshes and minimal downsides. Oh, that's dope. So you could make more like bespoke, interesting looking assets. Again, a compromise we wouldn't take today, but fit the Xbox 360 and Xbox One. PlayStation had more memory and less GPU, so we'd have different bake pipelines for each platform. That's why I'm not surprised that many handle Switch baking different than traditional PC development. Yeah, I'm sure Switch is just a completely different set of problems. Also why Destiny was ported to PC despite being developed and tested on PC. That's very confusing to people. They didn't understand that. Even though it's made on PC, you don't just go make on PC. It doesn't fucking work that way. It's built on a PC to be played on a certain platform. So if you want to play it on a PC, you have to curate a build specifically for different hardware requirements and different rendering stuff. All that shit changes. So you can't just go click make on PC. It's stupid to think that it's that easy. Yeah, dude, I'm glad that people like you exist, man. Video games would not be where they are without highly skilled tech artists, man. It's very cool. I don't understand what you do, but I really like talking about it because it's shit that I don't get. And I like trying to learn and understand different things. When are we getting Dread on our TI-80 series graphing calculator? Never. Dread's only going to be on PC. That's our goal right now. It's going to be on Steam, and that's it. That's a computer too. It is. That's fair. What? Obviously, when you press compile, you just get an option for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Yes, you do, man. Yeah, just like in Unity, you know? It works that way. No, it doesn't work that way at all. Especially for custom game engines that AAA studios use. It definitely doesn't. They have to develop specific things. Oh, Tony, you wearing the Needler shirt?
Yeah, I got the Needler shirt on.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, so the Halo show, one of the Spartans picks up what looks like a plasma rifle and goes, the Needler. And I'm like, it's not even the fucking right shape. What is wrong with you? It's like this huge two-handed like rifle thing with a split in the middle. And I'm just like, that is not a Needler. That show is so crazy. Oh, LFQ likes the Needler shirt.
Thank you.
Tony read your comment and left. Yes, he hates you.
What was your comment?
That's
when are we getting Dread on TI-80 series graphing calculator?
I already
VR, I guess.
Yeah, I already addressed that and said never. Dude, Adder, Halo show makes me so sad too. The visuals are great. None of the plot makes any fucking sense, and it's not even correct. It's like they were trying to do. As I watch it, it makes me feel a lot like Star Wars Expanded Universe content that is on Disney Plus and all that shit. Where I'm like, it's kind of Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars. Halo feels
like they do an okay job of at least following the rules in the Star Wars stuff that is kind of boring. Yes. It doesn't matter. The Halo show is just like, we're gonna pretend the game doesn't exist and literally do everything different. It's like, okay, nobody wants you to do that though.
Yep. That was the famous comment around that time when it came out, was the director saying nobody can relate to a protagonist that has a helmet on all the time, and then everyone responded with the Mandalorian. The funniest fucking shit ever. And he's like, but he takes his helmet off. It's like, not for fucking 4 episodes, and then he clarifies he doesn't take his fucking helmet off.
And it's like a really big plot point.
It's he's not
supposed to do that, and there's like a whole thing about it. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
John takes his fucking helmet off in the first episode.
Yep.
And they make a big deal about it. And he's like, hold on. Takes his helmet off and he's like, okay, now if you really want to shoot me with that gun, aim up here. I'm like, ah! I don't know why I'm watching it, guys. I wanted to give it another chance, and it's just so head ass. It's so frustrating. If you like Halo at all, it's just stupid. It's like the Muppets after Jim Henson died, which I've said before. It's a lot like that. You're like, who the fuck is in that Master Chief? Who's in that Mjolnir 6 armor? He didn't even wear his armor for 4 episodes in season 1. Yeah, exactly. He's just walking around like a dude.
You think we like Master Chief because he's a guy? No.
Wait, Adder, you're watching Halo to go to sleep too? That's literally what I've been watching right now. The last week, I started watching Halo because I ran out of shows I was enjoying. I have a confession of a guilty pleasure. I started watching Apothecary Diaries, which is like a slice of life anime. I don't know why. I just fucking liked it. It was good. I'm embarrassed to say it. It's not the most masculine show, but hey, I started enjoying it. I like to watch stuff that is very different to me. So yeah, I was watching that, and then I ran out, and then what else was I watching? I was watching something else. I needed a hard pivot away from all the psychological horror that I was watching. So that's why I went to something that was very it was cute, kawaii desne or whatever. Anime got a time and a place too. Yeah, exactly. No judgment. I like mid shows of all genres. Okay, I will say this. Apothecary Diaries is not mid. It's a very good show. I didn't think I was gonna like it at all, but Netflix kept suggesting it to me, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'll give it a spin." And I really liked it. I thought it was very entertaining. There's a lot of like intrigue and mystery going on. But yeah, it's cool. It's an anime, so it's all in Japanese, but it's set in a fictional like ancient China, if that makes sense. The politics, you know, the social interaction, not the politics. I mean, there is a little bit of, you know, Chinese empire politics that is going on with the emperor and all this other stuff, but the social structure I thought was very interesting, because the eponymous apothecary is like lowborn, you know, and has to be involved with a bunch of nobles, and the way she interacts with the nobles, I think, is just really interesting. And the way that they speak to each other, there's a lot of like, oh shit, I can't say that, in embarrassment because of this interaction. Like, you know, I'm unworthy to speak with this noble and stuff like that. I just thought it was really interesting. Turning Cog, favorite slice of life anime is Daria. You're so edgy, bro. I'm judging myself, Turning Cog. I know you guys.
King of the Hill, then, if that's the case.
Yes, dude. King of the Hill's the best slice of life anime for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, Tony with the goated opinion. If it's too good, it'll shift to a non-sleep show, which happens sometimes. Yeah, I agree with that. Totally agree with that. I can't have stuff going if I need to sleep. Shows are for looking at, and sleep is for darkness. That's real, LFQ. But yeah, man, Halo is so fucking bad. I don't know how they fucked it up so hard. Like 343 was directly involved. I really don't understand how they fucked it up so hard. Maybe it's because Joe Staten went to Netflix and he wasn't like, maybe that's why he went to Netflix. He was like, you guys are ruining my fucking stories. I hate this. I'm out. Turning Cog, you would like Daria. I'm not trying to hate on Daria. I'm just saying you are your stereotype of yourself, man.
And I haven't seen Daria since middle school, probably.
Yeah, I definitely watched Daria. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, hit me with the haha reindeer, bro. He still looks like a little hamster to me. I gotta look closer to see the red nose. All right, that's better. I got a better mental image now.
All right, we got to wrap it up here soon, but I think we got this shit happening now. Let's see.
Adder, I don't know. It was Paramount Plus, and then it moved over to Netflix. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, there's like 3 or 4 seasons on Netflix. LFQ sweating. Are you sweating because the show's ending, or are you sweating because Tony's investigating the darkened hallway? Oh, you got to turn around though to see if you went in there.
We're in there.
I know it's pitch black. That's why I was saying it that way. You wouldn't be able to tell if you turn around. Oh, hell yeah, dude. Good shit.
Yep. Just seal that up back there. And see, I want to move the trigger back, though.
Okay, so you, just to clarify on what you're building, what Tony's doing is building a what would typically be referred to, or as I know it, a transition, which is you're going from one level, loading into another level, but going through the hallway hides it from the player. So like you're unloading and loading new stuff.
Yeah, and in this case, obviously, we're doing a very dramatic lighting shift, and so that's the reason that I'm trying to hide this too. Is we're probably not going to be going from the neighborhood directly into the pool rooms like you're seeing right now, but there's inevitably, like, I think we want to play with that lighting shift where like you're going to be going from what you perceive as nighttime and then suddenly you transition and be like, wait, why is it daytime now? Like that, we'll definitely be going for something like that. So I'm just trying to figure out like what a good way to pull that off is without the player noticing, and this seems to be working well. All I'm really doing right now is I got a collider in there that when the player touches it, it deletes ultra dynamic sky and it spawns a level instance with the pool rooms, and I'm just using the light from that level. I'm not even like doing anything too fancy right now, and seems to be working pretty good. So again, Adder the goat helping me figure out that we're getting light bounce when we were down here because this giant plane effectively was bouncing light inside this tunnel because of how it calculates that type of thing. But now that we're not touching that and we're up here, seems to be working pretty well.
And for anyone wondering about the design process, the neighborhood is going to be really spooky and unnerving. So we need to calm the player down a little bit as they get into the house. And there will be a very weird vibe. It'll feel uncanny because you've gone into, from the house interior into the pools. But that lighting change is going to feel sort of calming and like serene because you've gone from all this darkness and terror to like, oh shit, I'm in these pools. But then you're in the never-ending hallways of pools. They do end. I'm being hyperbolic with the use of never-ending.
I can't usually see under the ground plane. I don't know why that's like that all of a sudden. What it changed?
How many engines are you making? What do you mean, bro? Oh, endings. I read that wrong as fuck. One. There's only gonna be one ending for scope reasons. I'm sorry. It depends on the success of Dread, how it goes, if we want to keep working on it or not. But our current plan is not to keep working on it. We're gonna get it in a nice package, send it off into the world, let it fly on its own, and see how it goes. I don't want to make any promises about anything, but if there's a lot of people loving it and they're requesting that we add things or change things, of course we can definitely look at that and push a new release and some updates to the game. But it'll be, this is more of a scoping exercise, like a cool down game jam type of vibe before we get back to Hyperskate. So
and here's what we're going to do tomorrow so that you guys are enticed to come back. My idea is going to be that we want to take this house that looks like this, right? And then we're going to run up to it. And when we get to probably about, I don't know, it's going to be tricky. But what I want to do is I want to chop the top of it off when I get to a spot. And then I want this staircase to be like 500 feet long. But I want it, and then when you come back out and you look, you're like, but the house is only, that tall. So we got to figure out where that cut point is. I might need to push the stairs back a little bit just so I can't see the top of them until I get to like right here. But then that'll be kind of the transition from the neighborhood into the house. There might be a little bit of something before the staircase, but then the idea would be you walk up that really long staircase and then you're going to be somewhere else. It's probably not the pool rooms again, but it's going to be somewhere. And then we'll probably do the tunnel thing I was just showing to go to the pool rooms after that, or at some point. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow.
I like the pool rooms. I think it could be a good transition to the pool rooms.
No, it's going to be good for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. Interesting, Adder. They're going to wrap S4, S5, which are both currently being filmed. Interesting. That's
Are we still talking about Halo?
Witcher. What's that?
You still talking about Halo?
No, Witcher. Turning Cog was talking about Witcher, saying that Witcher's finally canceled. Yeah, thank God. After Cavill dipped, I only watched.
Even the last Cavill season was not good.
Yep. So. Spooky pumpkins or nah? Probably not, because pumpkins convey that it's a certain time of year. So I don't want to do that. I want to keep it like not.
A lot of this stuff is up to Vince, but like I definitely think we're gonna need a lot of like
lighting's important.
I think it's gonna be like unique identifiers for the houses along the pathway.
Yes.
That are gonna be like pretty obvious. Like somebody's gonna, this but not this, like a fucking 18-foot tall giraffe topiary in their front yard or something, where like if you end up going the wrong way around the loop, like immediately you're gonna see this like crazy wacky thing that is only in one place, and you're gonna immediately know like, wait, I've already been here. That's gonna have to happen. We're gonna have to figure out exactly what that looks like. So yeah.
It's a good house. Turning Cog recognizes it. Yeah, this is the asset flip. That's what we're doing.
This is the Victorian house asset pack that must have been free at some point because I have it and I wouldn't have paid for it. So
yeah, thank you, Mocap. This is we didn't make the house. It's okay.
LFQ donated $100 and said,
"Yo, LFQ, dude, LFQ dropping the fucking hundy.
You're
thank
crazy.
you, bro. Thank you so much. Yeah, big dub, dude.
All right, yeah, we'll give it a run through here one more time, and then we're gonna shut her down. So,
you didn't make the house. No, I think it looks bad actually. Thank you, Mocap. No, we don't have artists, man. We've got really good engineers. You know, Tony leading that, and we've got me as the like vision creative guy of like what we're making and why we're making it and all that, and what the experience is. But that's kind of it. Like, we still need an art champion. That's the thing that has been holding us back the hardest with Hyperskate, is we just need fucking art so badly. And you know, I've told you guys a couple times, we had probably like 7 different artists come through at this point. Basically none of them have made things we can use. Well, there's one. You know, Sean made a helmet that we're using in Hyperskate. That's it.
Guys, I realized why it looks bad is that we turned all the fog off and we never turned it back on.
Oh, turn the fog on, bro. Let's go.
There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. Okay.
Yeah, and mocap, just for your, you know, for your understanding, what we're doing with these asset packs is we're like modifying them and using them in different ways. So we're not just like straight up copy pasting and being like, ship it, it's done. We're like, this is the template we start with, and then we're gonna change things and use it in different and interesting ways. So
that house is definitely mostly unaltered right now, but I did go through and delete just about every single thing out of it except for the walls and, you know, lights and doors and stairs and stuff like that. There's all the everything, because it was a big lag when it would load in, and it's a little better now. I think a lot of it still has to do with like the lights and some stuff that's in it, so that'll still have to be improved. But as you can see, like, the streaming is pretty smooth right now. I'm not loading in houses in the distance and the fakes right now, but other than that, like, aside from times like that, it's working pretty good.
Yeah, it's looking great, Tony. It really is. Chat agrees. They're loving it. Everyone's very impressed. Yo, what's up, Hyperons? Yeah, I'm sorry you got here right at the end, brother. The house was on the sidewalk. LFQ, don't look at that. We're just going to pretend we didn't see it. Cars are nah.
This is not supposed to be here. Interesting. Okay.
I think cars are... Not
we might have like some parked cars for like lighting that we've talked about, but definitely not moving cars. Yeah.
No, it's, you need to feel like you're alone in this neighborhood and there's nobody there. That's the key piece. And I think no cars makes it feel that way. There's a lot of other things that make it feel that way. So it's not just like a scope thing. It's more like vibes, if that makes sense. I mean, it's the online discourse with gamers and game devs of like lazy devs, asset flipping, blah blah blah. So yeah, I don't think of it in a negative way. We don't have art people, so we have to asset flip if we want to make anything. So I was assuming they would have been parked. I don't know, man. I like the empty street a lot more. Cars have a lot of geo. There's perf considerations for that too. So I don't know. I like it without the cars, but we'll see how it feels. So the main goal for us this week is standing up the whole experience end to end. You can go from the neighborhood into the house, into the liminal spaces, into the end of the game. And when that whole loop is there, then we can start playing it and seeing what we need to add, what we need to remove, what we need to like slightly pivot on, stuff like that. So that's the really important piece. Typically you might think of that as like a vertical slice, but we're doing the opposite, which I can't remember what it's called, but it's just an end-to-end playthrough. We're starting with that because we're not pitching this to anyone. Vertical slices used for pitch materials, and often vertical slices don't even get used in the shipping game. So we don't have the time to do that because of the challenge we're giving ourselves. So we're just going to make the whole thing.
We kind of had a vertical slice of like running through the maze with cubes, and then from there it was kind of like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, totally.
So.
We would call it a pizza. Okay. Yeah, like the whole pizza, the whole circle, like the whole way through instead of just one slice. All right, I like that mocap. Big garden gnome. I don't think a garden gnome fits the vibes. There will be things. Don't worry. They're gonna be weird though. Like Tony was saying, you know,
it probably won't be small stuff like that either. It would be a little harder to work into all of this. Like, it definitely possible, but I just don't know if it'd be worth the squeeze or anything. So
it's gonna be fucking weird shit, like scary shit. So if you're thinking about like little decorators, it's always gonna be scary stuff. Things that like appear and disappear, sounds that happen behind you or to your left that make you look in a direction and you see a thing and you're not sure if it was actually there or not. All of that stuff. Playing with like what you see and whether or not it really happened is a core part of the game. Pizza's mentioned and Brightside is ready. Yeah, let's go Brightside. Cool. I think that's it for us today. We're gonna wrap it up here.
Should we raid Tim the Tatman or a Team Bash?
Dude, I don't like these options, bro. Gnomes are terrifying. You haven't read Goosebumps? I have. Vash, dude. Oh my god.
No. I don't see anybody really to raid that we haven't raided, the last time we were live. So if you guys got any suggestions, happy to take them. Otherwise, might just not raid today.
Adder, no, don't do it. Don't do it, Adder.
It's so tempting, Adder, but I don't know.
I'm not trying to make enemies. I'm good enough at that with just talking.
I don't want anybody to get the idea that we're supportive of what they're doing. So,
or like openly being shitheads. Like, I don't like the negativity. I say enough crazy shit on stream that could get me in trouble. So yeah. So okay. Anyone, is Human on? Human's not on, is he? He is?
But I was just thinking didn't we raid him last time?
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, so I don't want to do it 2 times in a row, but
yeah, good call. All right. Well, I say we turn you guys loose to the internet.
Yeah. No,
I don't want to raid it. I don't want to raid Hilford again either. We've raided him a couple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We're gonna do more Dread Dev, and we will turn you guys loose to the internet. Feel free to go enjoy a channel that you want to check out. But yeah, thank you guys.
Come back, hang out tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, LFQ. Thank you for the donation. That's fucking huge, man. You're such a big supporter of the channel, and it's incredibly I don't even have words to say how much we appreciate it. But thank you so much. You're letting us,
we always say, think about something that you want us to put in the game for you.
Yeah,
and, no question, we will do that. So
yeah, bro, you get whatever you want in our games. So we'll find a way to integrate it and make it work. But yeah, you're definitely going in the credits too. Everybody that's a supporter of the channel, all you guys in chat who are regulars and subs will go into the channel too. So, into the credits. But yeah, that's always been a part of the plan. So we'll get you guys in there. I have to go get to a meeting, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. And more Dread Dev. Yeah, take it easy. Thank you, everyone.